Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining me. If you are new here, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of related things. I have for you today a case which is not only heartbreaking but also will leave you wondering why. But before we get started, just a quick disclaimer, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in today's video. The video is for educational purposes only. All the information I give you is already found in the public domain. Thank you so much. So let's get started. About 9 p.m. one night in late September or early October 1995, Debra Estrada had an unusual visit from Robert Honsch. She's always seen him shaven and neat. The man was married to her mother, Marcia Honsch, but on that night he had a beard and his shirt was wrinkled. He was stressed and he looked tired. His eyes were not looking at her, they were kind of diverting. She's never seen him like that before. On that night in 1995, Robert told Debra that his employer gave him an offer of a transfer with a choice of several countries. England and Australia were two of them. Robert said he had about a week to decide. Debra asked Robert if she could talk to her mother or her half-sister, 16-year-old Elizabeth. He said it was too late for that because he already sent them on to Australia. She found it unusual that he would send them to Australia when he hadn't made up his mind where to move with work. At the same time, Marcia's daughters were trying to figure out why she and Elizabeth seemed to just have disappeared. On 29th of September 1995, patrol officers found a body wrapped in sleeping bags and garbage bags behind a Connecticut shopping plaza. At the time, there was nothing to identify the female victim, who was believed to be between 17 and 20 years old. The young woman was still warm to the touch when officers found her, having died from a single gunshot wound to the head. Detectives dusted 3 palm prints from the garbage bags, but it would be hard to prove anything without having a suspect for comparison. The leads were few, and no one called in a missing persons report matching the victim's description. On October the 7th, 1995, state police said they are investigating a possible homicide after finding the body of a woman in Toland State Forest in the southern Berkshire Hills of Massachusetts. Troopers at the Russell Barracks received a call from a park ranger at the forest at about 4:30 p.m. notifying them of the discovery of the corpse, which they said had been in the forest for several days or perhaps even weeks. A hiker came upon this body in Toland, Massachusetts, 40 miles away from the first crime scene. The unidentified woman also sustained a gunshot wound to the head. She was believed to have been killed approximately 1 week before she was found. District Attorney William Bennett would say little about the event until he had more information. Right now we have a body in the woods, and we have no information beyond that, he said. The body will be recovered, there will be an autopsy and an examination. In October 1995, state police provided this photo of the sweatshirt worn by the unidentified murder victim found in Toland State Forest. It was described as a grey drawstring hoodie type with the word trans in a diamond over the left chest area, red hood, sleeves and front pouch. This is a description of the victim from then Hampden District Attorney William M. Bennett's office. The woman was between 30 and 45 years old, of medium build, and from 5 feet 2 inches to about 5 feet 4 inches tall. She was wearing maroon-rimmed prescription glasses and had an upper bridge with a full set of teeth. Police in September 1996 released a sketch of the woman whose body was found in the forest. In the months and years to follow the discovery of these two unidentified females, the New Britain Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police worked together on the theory that these crimes were connected. Over the years, there were no reports of missing persons that seemed to correspond to either victim. Evidence found at the second crime scene led detectives to believe the women had a connection to the upstate New York area. A tax stamp on a pack of Carlton cigarettes and unique clothing helped authorities focus there. Retired police detective from New Britain, Connecticut, Larry Batterini, said he put years in trying to find out who the victims were. It wasn't until 2014, after he retired, that the body was identified through DNA testing as that of 16-year-old Elizabeth Honsch, Robert Honsch's daughter. That same year, the body found in the forest was identified as that of Elizabeth's mother and Robert's wife, Marcia, 53 years old, of Brewster, New York. The retired detective began meeting with Massachusetts State Police in 1995 about the stolen Jane Doe. He said there were similarities between the two women, such as the fact that both were shot in the head. The stolen body was near a campground and the New Britain body was wrapped in sleeping bags. Neither woman had any identification. He said the young woman's body in New Britain was left there so someone could find her. She was wrapped carefully and placed there, not just dumped. Larry also spoke about an interview with a man from the subway at the shopping plaza who told investigators he was sitting outside and saw a light blue Buick Skylark drive toward the back of the plaza. Larry acknowledged that the first time he asked the Connecticut Registry of Motor Vehicles for a listing of Buick Skylarks was 1998, and he didn't follow up on that list. In the same year of 2014, relatives in Dutchess County, New York, reported Elizabeth and Marcia had been missing since 1995. The family members filed a report 19 years after their sudden disappearances from Brewster, New York. Through interviews with relatives, police learned that Marcia left the Bronx to be with Robert, and she gave birth to Elizabeth in 1979. The three of them moved to Brewster in the early 1980s. Family members reported incidents of alleged violence, including a time when Marcia emerged from a bedroom while bleeding from the mouth following an argument with Robert. Fast forward to the fall of 1995, Robert told Marcia's family that they were moving to Australia for a job. He claimed Marcia already had a head start and left before he did. No one heard from either Marcia or Elizabeth ever again. Marcia and Robert got back together for a month or two before Marcia was killed after being estranged for about 7 years. Robert fell off the radar and spent years in South Africa before returning to the US. It wasn't until 2006 that Robert reappeared. Around this time, Robert's new wife, Cheryl Tyree, wrote a letter to Robert's brother and his family. Cheryl claimed Robert was living another life under her name, and he told her that he had no siblings, no other marriages, and no children. Robert's brother and sister-in-law gave this information to Marcia's family. They remained in touch over the years. Robert was later found in Ohio, remarried with children and living under the name of Robert Tyree. The new information from the Jane Doe cold cases was released during a press conference in 2011 involving Connecticut authorities at New Britain Police headquarters. The murder victims were identified, and photos of Marcia, 53 years old, and her daughter Elizabeth, 17 years old, taken sometime between their murders in 1995, are released by the police. Robert was arrested in Ohio in 2014 and claimed to have very little recollection of 1995. At one point, he even told relatives that he had amnesia. The man accused of killing his wife and daughter 19 years previously and leaving their bodies in Tolan State Forest and behind the shopping plaza in New Britain, Connecticut, was held without the right to bail by an Ohio court. Robert Honsch, 70 years old, was arraigned in Wayne County Municipal Court on charges that he is a fugitive from justice, according to the Office of Wayne County Prosecuting Attorney Daniel R. Lutz. He was held at the Wayne County Jail for up to 30 days, while Massachusetts prepared a request to have him returned to the state for trial. He was arrested at his home in Dalton, Ohio, where he had been living under the assumed name of Robert Tyree. On 17th of September 2014, Robert pleaded not guilty in Hamden Superior Court to murder in connection with the fatal shooting of his wife, Marcia, in 1995. He was denied bail with no objection from his two court-appointed lawyers. When 71-year-old Robert was arrested for the murders of his wife and daughter in 1995, authorities said forensic evidence linked him to the body of his daughter as well. In October 2015, a prosecutor's motion filed in Hamden Superior Court revealed that the forensic evidence included a series of palm prints found on the plastic trash bags in which his daughter's body was found dumped in New Britain, Connecticut, 27 years ago. A motion filed by Assistant Hamden District Attorney Karen J. Bell asked and received a judge's okay to obtain Robert's palm prints so state police can compare them to the prints recovered as evidence. George Staley, special agent with the Ohio Attorney General's office, was the one who in 2014 took the major case prints of Robert, which included fingers and palms. He went to Robert's Dalton, Ohio house as part of a team of law enforcement from Ohio, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, executing a search warrant. He also collected hair samples and did a DNA swab from the cheek of Robert. Robert was cooperative the whole 2 hours it took to complete all the procedures. In May 2017, Hamden Superior Court Judge Constance M. Sweeney presided over Robert's murder trial in Springfield. After the jury was selected, they were taken by bus on two views. One was Tolan State Forest, where Marcia's body was found, and the other was New Britain, Connecticut, the location where Elizabeth's body was found. The forest view took approximately 4 hours. The jurors were taken to Tolan State Forest, the Otis campground, and to New Britain, Connecticut. Elizabeth and Robert's daughter from another relationship were at one point at a campground in Otis near Tolan State Forest. At trial, this was used to show that although family members did not live in Western Massachusetts, Robert was familiar with the area near where Marcia's body was found. The Hamden County jury in Massachusetts found him guilty of first-degree murder for Marcia's death. He was sentenced to life in prison. Following Wednesday's 16th of March 2022 conviction for Elizabeth's murder, State Attorney Brian W. Preleski thanked the many agencies who assisted on the double murder investigation over the years, including authorities in Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts. A state police ballistics expert testified at trial that 2 or 3 shots were fired at the Tolan State Forest site where Marcia's body was found in 1995. Trooper John Screen was on the stand at the Hampton Superior Court. He said he went to the site when the body was found and he collected ballistic evidence. He described the different components of fired ammunition found at the scene, as well as the metal jacket of a bullet found in Marcia's head during an autopsy. Connecticut Chief Medical Examiner Dr. James R. Gill was called to the stand to testify about his review of the autopsy done by another medical examiner in September 1995. A photo of Elizabeth from her autopsy showed a close-up of what Dr. James identified as an entrance wound on the side of her forehead. Another photo of the young girl's head showed an exit wound on the other side. The entrance wound with gas from the gun muzzle pulling back the skin showed the muzzle was pressed against the skin when she was shot. The brain was perforated by the shot and there was bleeding and a skull fracture. He said there would have been immediate unconsciousness and rapid death. Robert Honsch is scheduled for a sentencing hearing on June 15, 2022. Three of Marcia's daughters, Debra, Diana Mirabel, and Angelina Rodriguez, testified at the hearing, as did her granddaughter Melissa Rich and son-in-law Rafael Rodriguez. The three daughters plus another daughter are children of Marcia and Peter Estrada, to whom she was married before she married Robert. According to her daughters, Marcia and Robert met in a luncheonette in the Bronx in the mid-1970s and married in 1977. All four daughters lived with the couple. They had Elizabeth in 1979. The couple separated around 1988. The daughters were surprised to hear in the summer of 1995 that they were getting back together. During the separation, Elizabeth spent weekends with Robert, and he would bring her back to Marcia's home or to Angelina Rodriguez's home to spend time with Melissa. One of Marcia's daughters, Diana, said she reported Marcia and Elizabeth missing to the Brewster Sheriff's Department in October 1995, but nothing was done about it. She tried repeatedly over the years to report them missing to the FBI and the Sheriff's Department. In 2009, she connected with Robert's brother, John, through internet searching. She and her daughter drove the 40 minutes distance to meet him. John's wife let her in after she said that she was Marcia's daughter. John gave her a letter from Cheryl Tyree, who had married Robert in Ohio. Cheryl had written to John looking for information about her new husband. Debra later gave the letter to Diana, who got in touch with Cheryl. They stayed in contact by phone and email in the years that followed. "I was hoping to solve this and find out where my mother was," Diana said. She was also hoping law enforcement would approach Cheryl, as she said she reported the letter to the FBI and Brewster officials. In 2013, she told Cheryl she wanted to speak with Robert. "I asked him where was my mother and Elizabeth," Diana testified. "He said, 'Diana, you know your mother. We went to Australia. She ran off with another man.' He said Elizabeth must have gone with her mother and the other man. I told him he was lying," Diana said. Robert then told her that he had amnesia and someone must have told him Marcia ran off. He said he would call if he heard anything about Marcia and Elizabeth. Melissa Rich, 35 years old, testified about her friendship with Elizabeth, who was her aunt but was only 3 years older. The two young women spent lots of time together. She was an outgoing person. She liked style, clothes, makeup, music, and shopping. The last time she saw Elizabeth was the end of summer 1995. She seemed fine. She seemed normal. Nothing seemed weird. Elizabeth never mentioned the prospect of moving to Australia. After all the research and reading I did on this case, the one thing I am not able to figure out is why. Why did Robert kill his own wife Marcia and his own daughter Elizabeth? Okay, let's say that maybe because of his violent nature he did something to his wife in a fit of rage, but his daughter? I can't figure it out. I really can't. Both were also shot to the head, so at one point they must have known it was him killing them, unless they were unconscious before he pulled the trigger. He also left them to be found, so he wanted them found, but not their identities. I am trying to understand what was his motivation, his plans, his ideas. When he first went to Debra's house in 1995, where he seemed all unkempt, untidy, and really stressed out, not making any eye contact, it seems like he was remorseful and ashamed of what he did, but then obviously he wouldn't confess. So then, why kill them? Why? Thank you guys for watching today's video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever way you prefer. Either way is free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me and my channel out. Also, if you ever want to buy me a coffee, there is a link on your screen right now, and the link is also in the description below. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Please take care and stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!